a good ball played in for Tony Morley. Oh, he missed it! It is! Peter Ward! Villa in the lead!
Hello, good afternoon, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to the Villa Forever podcast. I am your host, Chad Williams. Please subscribe, do what you can to help this channel. I want to get to 2K at the end of the season, and make sure to smash the likes on this video, and you can follow me on all socials. On today's episode, I'm joined by my special guest, Gary, who is the host of the Every Week We Follow Aston Villa podcast. This is the match preview. I'll be doing the pre-match talk show. We focus our attention to Thursday night Europa League action. Fenerbahçe versus Aston Villa. It's a 5:45 PM kickoff. But yesterday in the Premier League, it finished Aston Villa 0, Everton 1. Aston Villa bottled it and missed the opportunity to go second place in the Premier League. And at the moment, the squad is looking very thin on the ground. Reinforcements are needed, but still, Aston Villa are still have a very good chance cementing themselves in the Champions League places at the end of the season. Great to have the show, Gary.
Chad, thank you. Absolute honour, mate. Thank you for asking me to come on. I'm buzzing to be here. And as you said, guys, make sure you hit that follow button for him. Like all his socials. This is the one. It's the place to be at. I'm excited to be on, mate. Thank you for having me.
You know, saying, Gary, like, when you want the show, we have so many connections. Also, like with your daughter, who's got muscular dystrophy, the same condition that obviously I've got as well. They're sort of going through similar things. And the thing is, what I find ironic is that you're doing a Villa podcast, and I'm doing one as well, and, you know, also for awareness of the icons.
Mate, it's a small world, right? Like, this is the beauty of doing this kind of stuff. Starting the podcast for me was a real way of connecting with people and getting something outside of looking after Abby. Obviously, I'm Abby's full-time carer, and I'm sure that your parents can do it. It's a full-time job, right? And actually having that out, and for you doing this podcast, no doubt gives you that outlet away from all the crap that you have to deal with that muscular dystrophy brings, right?
It's like a destruction.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is, right? So, you know, since we started a year ago, and you know, the connections we've built already is part of what it's all about. Whether, you know, obviously we all want to get more popular and stuff like that and have more likes, but and that's
making new friends,
making new friends, mate, building connections, building a new community of and having realistic debate about stuff, like without being crucified on Twitter because you've got an opinion about something. It's nice to control the narrative a little bit and actually having some like-minded Villa fans to talk to about it. Everyone with a different perspective, different, you know, backgrounds and things. Just bringing people together, mate. It's brilliant to see. It's been I think I briefly met you at Guillaume Bellicay's book signing when you were there, and that was for me. I was like, and obviously I know you've had other guests on. I thought, and it just, like I say, there's so many connections between our story. It was just too big to ignore, mate.
Gary, as well. Don't do it for another Aston Villa.
Yes. Aren't we all, mate? That's what it's for, right? It's literally because I think that's the beauty of it, that it's the passion that comes through in these, is that the pure love of a club that, you know, whether you've supported the Villa for a year and you're new to it, or whether you've been a fan for your entirety of your life, it's kind of, you've got that passion, that love, that desire to want Villa to do well. And, you know, it's the right time to be alive, because people have said to me a lot, and I don't know about you, but obviously there's lots of content out there now, right? Everyone and his dog can start a podcast and start talking about their football club, right? But that's the beauty of football, is that the 4 billion people on the planet that watch football, that want to tune into content, it can be saturated. You can have as many times.
It's such a big part of my life at Aston Villa. I think since doing this podcast, it's been life-changing for me. Like, even mentally, like, it gives me a purpose.
Mate, and that is worth its weight in gold, isn't it? Forget about subscribers, forget about all that kind of stuff. It's that purpose. And mine's slightly different for yours, because I obviously don't live with muscular dystrophy. I live in a household with it. But that was the same. I've spent like 6 years looking after Abby, giving up work, and she's been my entire life. And we've got to a place with Abby, like as we spoke off camera, mate, where she's now turning 18 and becoming a little bit more independent, having some carers come in. It's transition. And I've, suddenly found myself asking the question, right, I probably should go back to work, but I've worked in education and I don't really want to do that. And I was like, what do I love most about in my life? What's the thing I'm passionate about? And it's always been football. I played football when I was a kid. I played football in my adult life. I've been a season ticket holder for nearly 20 years at the Villa. I've been going for 40, right? And it's like, it feels like I do this on a daily anyway with my friends. I'm always talking about football. So for me, it's no different. All I'm doing is just talking to different people about the Villa, and I'm happy. And that's it. That's worth any kind of money, any kind of.
And it's on the journey as well. So with your daughter, the journey of love. That's how I describe it. Like.
Oh, mate, I love that. Yeah, mate, I love that. No, that I love that. That's a great. Yeah, I think that. Do you know what? We should get T-shirts made up of that, mate. Yeah, right. Because that's a simple message, right? Because that's exactly what it is. It's the length, and obviously it goes a bit deeper than that. But it's that unconditional love you have for a child or a parent. Like what Abby just said to me, because I said to you off air, I don't mind talking about this. But we've got new carers coming in this week, right? And I've just explained everything that needs to be done this morning to a new carer. And Abby just said to me, as I come upstairs,
and accepting the help.
Well, that's it. But Abby just whispered to me as I came up the stairs to film this. She went, "I'm really grateful for you, Dad." Right, and mate, I'm
that's so nice.
Don't cry. And yeah, it's little things like that that make it all worthwhile. Mate, like you just said there, you nailed it. It's a journey of love, mate, and that's the best way you can describe it for me.
We'll talk about the Everton game first.
Let's get to it.
Did you go to the game yesterday?
Yeah. Yes, mate. I was there.
I was there. Yeah, I was there as well. Yeah. What was your thoughts from that game? It was a missed opportunity, I think.
You said it at the start of the show, mate. We bottled it. We absolutely bottled it, and it's amazing because if you go back a week after the Spurs game, I was like, okay, we look like we're in good shape here. I know there's been speculation of Marlon leaving. I didn't expect that to happen this week. I thought it might have been close towards the end of the transfer window where we probably would have had some reinforcements. But the fact of the matter is we weakened our squad, and it showed yesterday. Like we didn't have anything to come on and change the game. We could have, the fact that he scored for Roma yesterday just kind of rubbed the salt in the wound a little bit more.
It's done your mother. In a game like that yesterday, he's growing up for a Donny Marlon player.
It truly was.
Off the bench. You need the impact. And you need to inject the place, I think.
Do you know what the most disappointing thing for me was about yesterday? Was I know we're thin on the ground, right? But if you look at that starting 11 yesterday, the only difference was Kamara for Bogard, right? And Bogard is more than capable. He played really well against Spurs, so I wasn't worried about that. I thought looking at both teams, and on our podcast on Friday, we had an Everton fan who was literally scared about playing us, going, even with your starting 11 there, it looks dangerous. I think we're going to lose 3-0. And I was like, wow, I'd never bet against my team. But he wasn't confident at all. But from the first 17 seconds, mate, we looked so nervous. Like they played a ball over the top from kickoff. Torres doesn't deal with it. they hit the post, and we just, I don't know, we just looked nervy. Now we came into the game after that.
With Jordan Pickford, we didn't test him enough, I don't think.
No.
He didn't have much to do at all.
No, I think he had 2 saves in the whole game, mate. Both from Morgan Rogers. But I was disappointed with the application of it because we looked like we didn't believe in ourselves, which is really strange because in the last few weeks, like against Spurs and even again, going back to the start of December when we beat Arsenal at home, right? Obviously, in the dramatic circumstance of that victory, like it wasn't just the euphoria of the win; it was how the players and the coaching staff reacted. And then you fast forward to that Spurs game, and you look how we ground out the result. And afterwards, when the game ends, how together the players are. That little ruckus at the end, I loved it, mate. It was like there looks like there's a real togetherness for this team. And I'm not saying this is the main reason, but at the start of the season when we couldn't score a goal and we didn't win a game in the first 5, right? It was all down to the disruption of the dressing room, players leaving, potentially leaving, all that speculation that surrounded. And then it can't be a coincidence that Marlon leaves this week and we have one of the flattest performances.
Well, you think, Gary, but do you think it's a bad decision? I don't want to criticise Emery, but I just don't get the transfer. Like, why was you learning about, especially this stage of the season?
Yeah, it's not that I don't get it. I understand the transfer from a Marlon perspective, and I've got the feeling that Marlon was probably the one pushing it through.
He needs regular minutes.
Yeah, because it's a World Cup year and he's involved in the Dutch squad. And if he's not playing, he's going to jeopardise that. I just think we could have waited a week or two, or unless Roma are holding us over a barrel and saying, "Well, it's got to be now or never," And Emery's and the player could have easily said to Unai Emery, "Look, please let me go. I want to." And Emery's gone, "Yeah, okay, right." Because I think in the press conference on Friday, he said, "Look, there was a threefold factor that." 1, it was for the player. 2, it was a good deal for us. And 3, I couldn't guarantee him the minutes he wanted. So it makes sense. The transfer makes sense. I get it. But what doesn't make sense is not having a someone lined up to come and fill that void, because by getting rid of him, we've got nobody. And it's a concern. Now, I'm just going to put it out there and say, in Unai Emery we trust. Right? He's a world-class manager, and I'm just hoping that he's got some aces up his sleeve to bring in, before the transfer window closes, some reinforcements. Let's hope that happens, man.
Well, the big worry is you only got Ollie Watkins as our main striker. I did see a few days ago that he actually had a knock, he did. I think he had a little slight injury.
Okay.
I think it's injured, we've had it. We're in big trouble.
This is it, mate. Look, I am not Watkins' biggest fan, it's fair to say. Right? I'm very, very respectful in the fact that I think he's been a great servant for our club. Right? He's that in that 23-24 campaign, he was sensational, absolutely unplayable. I think he seems like a really genuine kind of family man character. Like, I like him as a person, but as a main striker, he simply is not clinical enough to take us to the next level. Like yesterday. All consistent. Yesterday is a prime example of that, mate, against Everton. They had 7 key players missing. Their back 4 was literally a makeshift back 4, and he didn't trouble them at all. He offered nothing. I could give you 3 examples. There was one in the first half where, similar to his goal against Forest, right, he had the ball at the edge of the area. He took one touch out of his feet, and instead of shooting, he squared it to, I think, Rogers, who then scored it over the bar. And I thought a confident striker there who's just pinging it for the top corner again. You're having a go. Then midway through the second half, ball over the top from Tielemans. He's literally 3 yards in front of their centre half, and the guy just catches him, no problem, and it results in nothing. And then similar again, he was on the left hand side. He cuts inside. He has a chance to shoot. He doesn't. He hesitates, takes another touch, and the defender blocks the shot. And you go, that's been indicative of his performances throughout the season. He's only had about 3 or 4 decent games for us. He's only scored 7 goals.
Come on, here's the little thing. Only Watkins is not good enough. The player is quality. If he wants to get in that World Cup squad, he needs to be scoring at a consistent level.
I just think that's the bare minimum, mate. That's his job. I know he works hard for the team. I know he can run the channels, and I've had lots of comments come at me going, he's been brilliant for the Villa. He's our all-time Premier League goal scorer, but he scored 82 goals in 208 games. It's not a brilliant return, right? And I'm not. And people say to me, "Well, who would you replace him with?" And I haven't got that magical answer, mate. That's not my job. I don't get paid for that. My job is to look at it and go, we need something different.
Your job is to score goals.
That's it. That's it, mate. That's the bottom line. And look, I'm again going back to Unai. We trust for him to find someone that can take us to the next level. Look, we know. I guess I'm going to ask you a question if you don't mind. What were your thoughts on Unai Emery's press conference? That interview after the game. What do you think about that?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really see the interview. What was he sort of saying?
So, in a nutshell, mate, he basically said we're not contenders for the top 5, right? Because there are 5 teams that are better equipped to do that. I haven't got a problem with that. But then the interviewer asked him.
Nothing I did hear about. Yes. Do you say something about we're not contenders or something?
Yes. He basically said,
that was it, yeah.
He said, we are there at the moment, but we're not contenders for the top 5. And
I think we are.
Oh, I do too. But when the interviewer asked him, why do you think that is? He just stonewalled her. He just looked at her and smiled and walked off. Didn't answer the question. And while I'm okay with Emery going, we're not total contenders, right? You play that down because, that's a long way to go. But to say we're not top 5 contenders, right?
That's a big statement.
I think he was probably frustrated with the loss, just like we were, talking out of emotion. I sincerely think if we can get a couple of signings before the January transfer window closes, I think we're well in there. It's ours to lose, right? We've got, a real opportunity. We're 7 points ahead of Liverpool, which means they've got to win 3 games to get ahead of us, right? So if we can just stabilise it, like, we'll be okay. But if the manager's saying things like that,
there's a big loss without just John McGinn. When John McGinn come off, we lost that leadership, I think.
Yeah.
And I think if John McGinn was on that pitch, we would have lost that game if it wasn't for that.
Mate, I agree. I do agree with that. The moment he went off, we went so flat, and we replaced him with Evan Gassond. And I just, mate, at this point, is this guy? How has that guy been made it as a professional footballer? I don't see the appeal.
It's very does.
Like you say that, John McGinn. Like there's certain players in that team, and there's 2 for me. When you take them out, it significantly weakens us. Boubacar Kamara is one, and John McGinn's the other. Like Boubacar Kamara is one of the classiest centre midfielders I've seen in a Villa shirt my entire life. I think he's close to being world class, and I don't say that lightly, right? And then you've got McGinn, who's the engine and the fire that drives.
Well, he's been part of Villa since the Championship days. He's been on that journey with Villa ever since. And to me, I think McGinn's one of the key players.
I agree, mate.
On the pitch.
Yeah, I was asked at the beginning of the season, right, that do you think John McGinn is a starter, right? And I said absolutely. He's our captain, and he drives what this team does. But there were lots of people that commented on it that basically said, no, he's a squad player. Like, bring him off the bench. Like, he's past it now. But look what he's done this season. I mean, even from going into last season, from the Paris Saint-Germain game away to the game at Villa Park, and then this season, 5 games, no goals. He single-handedly just said, right, bang, this is what we're doing. And I'm dragging you all with me.
He takes the game on scruff of its neck.
Yeah.
The way he steps up in the big moments.
Absolutely. And yesterday, mate, after he went off, we didn't have that. Like, I don't know about you, but in the last, like, we've played this poorly so far this season, but we've had moments of quality that have won us games, right? But like Rodgers has stepped up and done stuff. McGinn's done stuff. Tillemans has done like real magical moments that have changed games. On it, Buendia, like, have had these brilliant moments. And yesterday, I think we could have played for another 90 minutes.
The other players, they didn't step it up.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, mate. And if I look at Emery's comments after the game yesterday. If we are going to finish in the top 4, or finish third, right? Because for me, 7 points in third, we should be aiming to finish third. That should be the aim, right? I still think the Europa League's probably going to be the thing he's going to concentrate on the most, because we need Champions League football. That's got to be a given from this position, if I'm honest. The league position, I can almost say, okay, right, if we drop down to 4th, fine, but we shouldn't be dropping out of that top 4 place from where we are now, the position that we're in. But if we did and won the Europa League, but if we did and won the Europa League, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But what's going to be required to do that is that the players that we've got, right, have to go up that extra level. You know, we need Ollie Watkins to start firing. Like, as critical as I am of him, he's our only option. So it's time that he starts being clinical. He's got to work a little bit. Not harder. I won't say harder. He's got to work a little bit smarter, because, again, if you go back even a season and look at his movement for his goals, right? I mean, he missed 33 big chances last season, but he still had good movement. And I was like, okay, it's going to come. He's getting chances. But this year, he's not. There's something different that's not quite the same. So he, first and foremost, leading the line, that's got to improve, because he will get chances. The way Rodgers carries the ball and moves onto the back 4, he creates space, but he's not making the correct runs. And Rodgers will try and pick him out. He did it last season against Everton away. Rodgers picks the ball up. He gets him into the impact between the 18-yard and the centre circle. And he plays the first time.
Well, Rodgers yesterday, he had 9 shots, I think he did.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, he would have released the ball to Watkins if Watkins had made the runs. There was 3 times yesterday that Rodgers got into that position and was looking to pass, but didn't have it.
Yeah, also Gary's going to say as well that in the game I was really impressed with George Hemmings.
Yes, mate.
That's one positive. Yeah. Nice and great touches when he came on.
Yeah. Do you know what, right? We didn't talk about this on the pod because we got so much into depth of talking about Unai Emery. But yeah, I think he deserves a special mention, mate, because he came on for Bogard, and actually, I thought he was better than Bogard. He looked really lively. Like his touch was good. He was tracking back and kind of, he looked really quick, and he moved the ball pretty quickly. And I was like, okay. But obviously, he's only 18, and we know historically Unai doesn't play youngsters. Like Bogard's the only one really that he's given any kind of minutes to, right? So it's great that Hemmings has got a little bit, because he came on against Arsenal at the Emirates, even though that game was done and dusted. And then yesterday, and I thought he acquitted himself really well, mate. It was a good audition.
He's looking nice. He might play a bit more often now, because he's got no choice. With the injuries, he's going to be thrown straight into there.
Yeah.
So
I'm here for it, mate. I am. Like, I don't see the point in investing in young talent. And I'm going to show my age here because I'm 46. But if I go back to the 90s, where you had like Wayne Rooney coming onto the scene, and Michael Owen, and the 90s, and they were just youngsters who were given this freedom to go and play football and absolutely tore up the Premier League. We just haven't seen that in so long, and I'd just love to see like a youngster come on and light up the Premier League. Like we've signed this Alisson kid. Like I don't know, mate. I don't know enough about him. I've seen the YouTube clips, and he looks great on YouTube. But until he plays, we won't know. But if he's good enough, get him in the squad. That right side we're crying out for something. We're crying out for someone.
You need like somebody who's young, unproven.
Yeah, younger, because of our financial restrictions. That's where we're at. We're going to have to take a gamble and have a go with these youngsters. It's the same with that young. I say young 17-year-old. I think he's just turned 17. Brian Maggio, by the way. Have you seen pictures of him, dude? Like
some things, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Mate, he's not 17. He looks about 35. He's huge. Like,
short for his years.
Like, no, he's a super young lad, just turned 17, but at 6'4", and looking like Romelu Lukaku did. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to give this guy a test. Let's see how he handles himself. He's played for Luxembourg internationally. He's had 5 appearances for Metz in France. Now, obviously, we know if we're judging the French league on what Gasson's done, it's nothing to go by. I think I could play in the French league by the looks of things. But I think we've got to give these guys some minutes, even if it's like what he did with Hemmings yesterday, and it's 10, 15 minutes at the end, to give us something, because ultimately yesterday it wasn't the only changes we could have made were the defensive ones. We had nothing to go and try and win that game, and Everton knew it and just defended for their lives once they got in front. We like I say, we looked so nervous. I mean, the goal we conceded, Chad, come on, like it was. If you put Benny Hill music over that, right, it is a comical miss. Like, just everything about it was just awful.
Everything went wrong, though, I think. The misplaced passes.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get going.
No, it was so. Well, do you know what was, again, frustrating? I feel like in previous games when we've gone behind, which we have in recent games, obviously, I always felt, I'm confident we'll come back and get something. I didn't feel that yesterday in the game. It didn't feel like we were going to get anything out of the game. It's almost like the players were frustrated. The manager was frustrated.
Those days, I think.
Yeah, and maybe we've got to put it down to that. It's just a bad day at the office, right? We had a bad day at the office against Arsenal at the end of December, and we bounced back really well against Nottingham Forest.
We don't usually lose at Villa Park.
Well, that's the other thing, mate. To lose that unbeaten run to an Everton team that was that depleted is a little bit downtrodden. And why I want to put it down to a one-off and a bad day at the office, I am slightly concerned in the next, 10 days. We've got 3 games, 2 tough European fixtures and an away trip to Newcastle.
What's Phil on the ground?
Like, what do we do to win those games? Like, with McGinn out, mate, that injury is just as bad as the Kamara one.
Do you know how good it's going to be?
Say that again, sorry.
Do you know how bad the injury is going to be?
Well, no, I saw on Twitter late last night, that basically it had a picture of him with some, I don't know, executives or some prawn sandwich people. And he said he had no strapping on and that he was going for a scan, which suggests to me, even if that's the case and it's not, he hasn't got it strapped up. If he's going for a scan, that's a couple of weeks, mate. If something requires a scan, it's not.
Bad news, that is.
And we'll have to wait and see. But ultimately, I don't. We'll get into the starting lineups for the Fenerbahçe game for Thursday, but I don't. We what are our options here? I've just seen something before I came online about who's going to be available and who's not, and they're almost ruling Sancho out again with illness. I don't know about you, but
so Gary, what do you expect from Thursday night?
My expectation is don't lose the game. Just don't lose. It's going to be such a hostile environment to go into, mate. You've got
Fenerbahçe, not all of them, but they got quite a bad reputation.
Yeah, I don't know if any Villa fans are watching and you're going, please stay safe. I did read the guidance on the website, and it doesn't sound good. They're going to be basically kept in a pen for 5 hours before kickoff. You can't take battery packs for phones. It sounds like it's going to be horrendous.
When you get there, what you're going to do is the fans need to be vigilant and plan their visit. Make sure they planned it properly.
Yeah. Just be extra careful and be prepared for lots of waiting around, and not very. You're going for the football because I believe there will be no alcohol available either. So those travelling fans who like a beer or two, I think you're going to be in for a bit of a surprise that you won't be allowed to. So, it's one of those, isn't it? Turkey historically are known for their hostile environments. And
it's usually Fenerbahçe. Is it Galatasaray?
Yes,
Local rivals, that's it.
Yeah. It's not great, and as English fans, that it feels, because of our reputation in European football from the 80s, it carries an extra added weight that people seem to want to target us and make an example of us because of the trouble that's existed over so many years. Hopefully, though, mate, everyone will be safe and we could go away and get a point. But I am a bit nervous about it now with McGinn being injured. I think if we could have kept our starting 11 fit with Bogard and just having Kamara missing, we stood a very good chance. But
well, he's good. We don't want to get anybody else injured now.
No,
One more injury for a crisis.
Yes, exactly. We have got a crisis if that happens. And like you say, it's sod's law, isn't it? When you're that, I mean, how have we gone from having one of the most stacked midfields in the country to having nobody? Like, how unlucky have you got to be to lose?
No,
Kamara.
No Kamara.
Yeah, they're all out, and it could have been such a different story because, like I say, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we looked like we've got depth in the squad, and now we've got youngsters on the bench who we're going to have to rely on, which is massive in a game. I mean, the only thing I will say about Thursday is that we don't have to go and win the game. Like, we're in a comfortable position. We'll still qualify for the next round. So I think Unai Emery will be aware of that, and maybe it'll be a case of we just go and defend for our lives over there because the expectation.
As well. He's not really in a position to make too many changes now.
No.
Because we're at the bare bones of our squad.
Yeah, we are. Look, and Emery's has never been a manager that's ever moaned about players being injured. He'll just get on and do what's necessary. But like I say, I would have been okay with going into Thursday thinking he'll have a plan. But like I say, his comments after the game yesterday do concern me a little bit, right? Again, in Unai we trust. I think he will have a plan. I think we'll get some signings in, but we know that's unlikely to happen by Thursday. It might do, but it's unlikely. And we've just got to kind of try and grind it out, and we know we can do that. Like there's enough in that squad, even with all the bare bones. Let's say, right, we're missing McGinn, right? So if Sancho's well, Sancho could go into that right hand side. We could easily, still get something in the game. I've got a bit of a plan what I would do. And I know you've got the team lineup, so when we go through that, mate, I'll have a chat about it. But like I say, a draw would be a fabulous result for us, I think.
And also Gary as well. In the past, we got some experience in European games at hostile. Likes of like Olympiacos.
Yeah.
And Legia Warsaw. So at least we've got experience in those hostile atmospheres, which is a good thing.
True. And up until yesterday's game, Chad, I would have confidently said that there's something different about this Villa Beast this season. That we've turned a corner, and that actually like you said there, we've got that little bit more of extra experience in European football to get over these difficult things. And this season, we've ground out results without playing well, but we've had our key players in those games, and I just worry that we haven't got those key players this time. So, what Emery's going to have to work that magic this week to get the players that he has got fit to do a job, and they may well turn up on Thursday, mate, and do it. They may well, but it's less likely with when you're bringing in unknown entities, because you don't know how they're going to respond to the occasion.
Squad.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited for the game. I've made a bit of a boo-boo. I thought that it was an 8 o'clock kickoff for some reason. And I usually play football on a Thursday. And I'm like, I had my message this morning saying, "Are you playing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll play." And I checked the fixtures and went like,
strange kickoff, John.
It's 5:45 kickoff on Thursday. And I'm doing a watch along. We've got hopefully Sam from True Adventures coming on to do a watch along with us. And I'm like, so I can't play football now, which I'm devastated about.
He was on my show a few weeks ago.
Yeah, top guy, mate. Yeah, he's a top guy. He's been on our show a couple of times as well. He's a magnificent storyteller. So Sam, if you're watching, keep up the good work, mate, and we'll see you on Thursday. And I'm hoping to get him involved in the charity thing as well, mate. He said that
he sings.
Yeah. So he said he might perform a song. We're actually this is hot off the press that no one else knows, but me and my co-host James on the podcast, we're going to try and attempt to do a bit of a jingle for the World Cup, right? So involving England players, and because James is a musician as well. He plays drums and stuff, and Sam's now I'm not musically talented, mate, so I'm just going to supervise and help produce a little bit, maybe. But stay tuned for that for the World Cup. It promises to be a right laugh. And And yeah, like I say, he's a fantastic storyteller, and get him on your pod again if you can, because he's great to have on.
Oh yeah, definitely. Gary, we're getting a team line up, sir. There is one team that I'm predicting.
Okay.
The Thursday night. So, what do you make of it, Gary? It's a team that I'm going with.
Yeah, I understand the Bizot thing, mate. I think he probably deserves that European spot, if I'm honest. I think Martinez will play if he's fit, but who knows with Martinez? He's
well, I think Martinez, I don't think we're risking an injury. That's why I went for Bizot.
Yeah, no, we've got to manage it very carefully, haven't we, in terms of what we're doing now? Because, like you say, bare bones. Back four, yeah, I can understand that. I hope Maatsen went off with a bit of a niggle, didn't he, yesterday? He got injured and he went off.
Too serious.
Hopefully it's okay. I really value Maatsen's pace, but I think the Digne one probably makes sense, as we've just talked about, in terms of the result. If we're going to not lose, then Digne's probably a little bit more solid as a defender. Bogard and Tillemans makes sense. I think that's going to be the pairing for the foreseeable going forward until Kamara or Onana's back fit. And the front four is that it's whether Sancho is well enough. I assume that if Sancho's not well, that will be Gassond, and then the rest is it picks itself, doesn't it? Yeah. So I'm just looking at it. You know, you go the issue is that pivot situation. Why Bogard is good, he's just not a Kamara replacement, and you know. What happens is Tillemans ends up doing double the amount of work, really, because he's trying to cover Bogard, and then we lose Tillemans' ability to play through the lines.
It's unbelievable to me. Bogard's a great player. It's a big responsibility on his shoulders, then.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and for a guy who's not been really shown the confidence to start games, like he's been a brilliant, versatile player for us. I think his potential is massive. He's a really good player, and I rate him. He's not a like for Kamara. He's not going to do the same sort of things. He doesn't carry the ball as well as Kamara. His thinking's not quite as quick as Kamara's. These are all minute details, but this is just a little bit of a player that's got a couple of years more experience of playing at the highest level. You know, it's good experience for him, and I'm sure he'll do a fine job.
Of Garcia, I'll go with Matty Cash.
Well,
he's playing a bit more football than that. But
yeah, Garcia's a funny one, mate. Because if you'd have asked me this question last season, I'd have wanted to see him being given minutes. I thought when he played last year, he made a mistake against Liverpool at home. I don't know if you remember that, and it cost us a goal. But apart from that, I thought when he played, he actually looked really decent. He was really direct. He got to the byline. He was putting crosses in. I thought, yeah, there's a player
maybe
there.
When he played a bit more.
Yeah, but he's made a couple of substitute appearances in the last couple of weeks. One against Arsenal and at the Emirates, where he was miles off the pace, and he got caught for the fourth goal, I think it was. And then he came on against Spurs, and again he looks miles off the pace. Now that could be just, mate, that he's had no minutes and he needs to get up to speed again. But with the way Cash is playing it. We know that Emery has got his favourites. I don't see.
He's solid and reliable,
yeah. But Garcia's got massive. He's got potential, mate. But I just don't think Emery, like we said earlier, whether he's got the guts to play the younger players.
Emery's got certain players that he trusts.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll get your team on the screen. So this one, Gary's predicting lineup. So, Gary, can you talk me through this lineup?
Yes, mate. So this is my thinking, mate, because desperate times call for desperate measures, right? So the only difference with yours is I'm going to go Maatsen at left back because I really value his pace down that side. I thought he was excellent going forward yesterday. And I think, you know, if we're going to get anything, I play to win. So this is my lineup going, let's go and win the game. But I realise that we're slower numbers. So this is my my out of the box thinking here, mate. So drop Lindelof in alongside Torres and play Pau Torres as a holding midfielder because his ball playing skills are excellent. Right, what we know he lacks is pace, as does Lindelof. But I really think he could do a job there. I think he could do a very similar job to Kamara, where he could just clear up the pieces, play the ball through the lines to Tielemans and get us moving. Right, he hasn't got to probably run as much towards his own goal. Like you could literally just sit him there and let Tielemans do the rest of the work. So it's, I mean, this isn't going to happen in a million miles of Sunday, mate. But I was just trying to think outside the box because we're desperate. And then my front four is the same as yours, mate. It just depends on whether Sancho is going to be well enough to play the game. And then that will be Gesson. And I hope it's not.
Because... Watkins, that's obvious.
Yeah, he's going to play 90 minutes now until we get some sort of, hopefully, backup for him, mate. You know, it looks like it could be Tammy Abraham, but whether that happens or not, we'll see in the next few days, hopefully. I've heard a rumour today that they want Gesson as part of the deal. The Besiktas chairman has said, Tammy, we don't want to lose Tammy, but if we do, I think Villa is the preference, but we need him now. Yeah, we want players on top. So, and people have got their opinions about Tammy, saying, you know, we shouldn't go. I've heard that we shouldn't go back, that he's had his time. But I do think it's not a bad signing for now to fill this void till we get to the end of the season, to get us over the line for that Champions League football, mate. You know, Tammy knows the club. He probably fits Unai Emery's MO, what he wants for a striker in terms of work rate and the way he plays. My only concern is that it's a like for like swap for Watkins, whereas Marlon offered us something very different. You know, I mean, he could play the pair of them up together, but that's unlikely. You know, with the way we play.
Well, the way he plays, he brings players into the game. He's very strong.
Yeah,
he can hold the ball up really well. He's a different type of striker.
Yeah,
Totally Watkins.
I think, you know, Tammy's 28, and I do think under the tutelage of Unai Emery, he could fit us quite well for between now and the end of the season. Because I am convinced, Chad, if we get Champions League football, the club are going to go and spend big. They're going to go all out, right? And I think they're going to take whatever fine comes their way. Right, I spoke about this on Sky Sports this morning. Right, I was asked this question about it, and I was just kind of saying that.
Was you on Sky?
Yeah, I was on Sky this morning. Crazy times, mate. Just talking about those comments from Unai Emery. Go check it out. It'll be on socials. I'll post it on my socials later, mate. I'm just waiting for the click to come through. But a 10-minute, I was on there for 10 minutes just talking about this very thing, and even the pundits were kind of saying, yeah, you know, our owners have got the money to spend. They're just waiting in the wings, waiting to splash the cash. Obviously, this year and last year, we've had to be restricted because of what we spent in that 23-24 situation of when we got to the Champions League. So I think it's more of an SCR issue, which is the squad cost ratio, so wages, etc. But we've had a good year this year on paper as a club. You know, we've had a negative net spend of 10 million quid. We've got the ever-growing structure of the stadium. You know, the North Stand will be expanded. We've got the warehouse that is growing and will be in use as a music venue. We've got the new store. We've got the new partnerships with Alguna and, you know, Exapo Bank that are coming this season.
Money doesn't mean to be smart. I imagine we'll come to this, actually.
Yeah.
So asking the question then, Gary. So, does PSR and FFP rules benefit too much the so-called Big Six with the global appeal and multi-revenue sources?
That's where it falls down, isn't it, for me? Because you think about it, like, we are being punished at the moment for being successful. Like, we've got into Europe 3 years in a row, and we can't spend because of where we are as a global brand, because we don't earn enough money as a club yet. Right, that's going to change. Right, we're coming for you, Man United, Spurs, Chelsea. Right, but these teams like Man United, who are in billions worth of debt, but because of their global pool and what they did, you know, in the 90s and the 2000s, because they basically earned from shirt sales what we've probably earned from our global revenue.
Look at them, City. They're financial capability. Nobody can compete.
No,
they've got a nation state.
Yeah, and it's look, this really, going into this PSR rabbit hole really frustrates me, because you just want it to be an even playing field, and clearly it's not. It's just not, and it affects us because you can feel Emery's frustration with it, because the frustrating thing for Emery is he knows that if he goes to lots of speculation, obviously when in going to Man United because they obviously sacked Emery. I just don't see that happening because having read the Rise of the Villains book right behind me, like he's been given a blank piece of paper for the Villa, right, to go build the club how you want, which he's trying to do, and he's done a magnificent job.
We know that everybody is as well. He gets full control.
Yeah.
He's got the keys to the castle.
And he's not going to get that anywhere in those top 6 teams. Or in Europe, mate, if any of those big clubs, they're not going to give him that kind of control. So he knows we're in a very unique situation. And I believe if we get Champions League football this year, the club are going to go all out to back him financially as well. I could see it happening. And the great thing about that is he's not stupid. He's not going to go out and just splash the cash willy-nilly and buy, things we don't need or want. It's going to be quality signings that he's got. And I just think give him the summer transfer window and the January transfer window next season, and I promise you we'll be in a very different beast again. I think that'll be the right time to judge him, because he will have had 6 or 7 transfer windows, and that one will be the one where he can bring in the players he actually wants to bring in, rather than looking for Costco versions of them.
Roberto and Arba.
Well, this is the key, right? So that's an interesting point, because the whole Monchi departure, right, and getting Alibe in. Like Alibe, according to reports, was the guy he wanted originally, not Monchi. Yeah. And obviously, clearly, the Monchi relationship was very strained. The Harvey Elliott situation, the Sancho purchase. It looks like Monchi probably had more say in that Emery would have liked. And it's no coincidence that getting rid of Monchi that suddenly changed our fortunes and everyone seemed to be happy again, right? Alibe has kind of come in. Obviously, we had his announcement, but he's gone under the radar. He hasn't
he worked with Emery before.
Yeah.
There's a connection with Emery, I think, as well.
Yes.
Real Union, Real Union.
Real Union, correct. That they've known each other for years. They've built, I think they've got a clear plan of what they want to do. I think as Villa fans, we've just got to ride the wave, right? Be patient. Try not to react to these moments that happen that are negative, right? The one-off results and stuff, because we have to realise where we were to where we are, and what we need to focus on is making sure we keep Emery as a manager, right? And we keep our owners.
This to Champions League football, last season financially, don't you think we'd have been better off? But we're paying the price.
Yeah, we are. Look, the fact of the matter is, if I'm not going to blame that Man United game solely with the dodgy referencing, because we had 5 or 6 games that season that we should have won and didn't, right? But it cost us. And actually, if we'd have got Champions League money this season, there's a fair chance we probably would have kept Rashford and Asensio. I know Rashford went to Barcelona, but I think if we'd have had Champions League, they would have been very tempted to stay. And who knows where we'd have been this season? It could have been a very different season. But it is what it is. And like Emery doesn't dwell on it, we've just got to go on what we can do. So if we can qualify again for the Champions League, that's 2 out of 3 seasons qualified for the Champions League on a shoestring budget. So imagine what this guy could do if he actually had the financial power to go and spend the money he's got. I get it to us. I'm not saying I want every club being able to just get rich owners and go willy-nilly buying whatever they want. You've got to do it properly. But it is frustrating that it almost feels like it is rigged for the big 6, right? The so-called big 6 to do what they want, and anyone that's challenging for it can't. And we are doing things the right way and being punished for it, and it's not fair. It's just not. So this season and the beginning of next season is going to be the story of where we're going to end up, because and whether we keep Emery, because if we don't get Champions League,
I really hope he stays.
Mate, I want him to stay forever. I do. I don't think there's a better manager in world football at the moment. If whoever you get to, if we had to lose him, it's going to be a downgrade. So it's about, can the team and the squad get through this difficult period where we look thin on the ground? We've got into a great position. My only concern is that we have fallen off in the last 2 seasons in kind of March, April time, because of lack of depth or lack of whatever, and we're now in that position where we look incredibly thin. And if we don't reinforce, like if you think back to last January, we were in a pretty bad run of form. And then Rashford and Asensio came in and boom, it changed our season. And we went on this mad 8-9 game run, right? Only to lose it at Man United. So if we can do that again, again, it's going to be astute. Lots of rumours flying around. I'd love Emery to pull out an ace like Mamouche from Man City or Ferran Torres from Barcelona. These would be real statement signings to say that we're going to be in the Champions League next year competing. So let's see what happens, mate. It's exciting either way. It gives us something to talk about, right?
Gary, I'm going to talk of the revenue. I get some graphics on the screen. So it's the first one. So it's a revenue ratio.
Yeah, this is the one, mate.
Look at what do you make of this? What's your thoughts?
This is where we're being punished, right? Because this is being based on probably from that 23-24 season where we qualified for the Champions League, the signings we had, and then you got to think the players that we currently had all got pay increases because they got bonuses, and I think it was probably written into contracts that if we get Champions League football, then your money goes up. That happens. It's a massive gamble, right? You gamble on it, and then you don't get the Champions League the following year, and then you're stuck with this. And this is the SCR, the squad cost ratio.
It comes down to revenue.
Yeah. But we don't earn enough money to get that down, right? Now, we've done little things this year, right, where we've sold the women's team, right? We've as we've just spoke about, the expansion of the stadium, the warehouse. All these things. So our global revenue this season, at the end of this season, this financial year, when it comes, will be considerably better. So that will go down, right? But it won't be, if we don't get Champions League, it won't be in keeping with the European sanctions, I don't think, right? Now, the European sanctions are different to the Premier League sanctions, I believe. Well, I might be wrong, so let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But if we can, like I say, just take the hit, Champions League, take the hit, because I think the European sanction is just a fine. It's not 3 points or points deduction or anything like that. So that's my understanding.
They have a lot of events, a lot of concerts. They've got American football, and so boxing. So that's what Villa need to do.
100%,
pick up some of the books.
And you think about it, this year they've done that, right? You had the Ozzy Osbourne last gig, right? That's going to go down in history.
Gigs.
That would have made so much money. Guns N' Roses were there. You had the Foo Fighters there last year. These are all little things that that we're trying to do, right? It's just having that pool. Like the gamble was qualifying for the Champions League when we did, and we probably got there a season too early. We gambled, it didn't pay off. But this is where I don't like it, and where it needs to be looked at, where we could say, well, actually, look at what Villa's owners are doing, right? Are they the kind of owners that are just going to go in and spend all the money and drop it away? But they're not. They've been here for 6 years now, mate. Like 6-7 years. They're trying to build something of a legacy, I believe. I don't believe for 1 second that this ownership is like, right, we're going to win a trophy and that's it. This is about getting Villa back to being a giant, about being a club that is competing for Champions League and league titles year in, year out.
They're going to expand the club globally. Because being globally with the revenue.
Yeah, that's what we've got to do, mate. That's because all these those teams there, particularly your Spurs, your Arsenal, your Man United, Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea, right? Their global brand is unmatched. That goes back to the success they had in the 90s and the noughties, right? It stayed there. So now they've forever got that pull. Right now, there is obviously a downside to this, and I feel this at Villa Park. We've had more corporate introduced, so there's more your hospitality packages ever available at the Villa. Yes, it generates more income, but you sacrifice atmosphere and the tribalism of football, and that's what I hate that more than anything, because having been a Villa fan all my life, pretty much 40 odd years, and I don't want football to lose its identity. And I think sometimes
agree with you have to sell your best players in order to compete.
Right, and that's where we're at, right? Because we can't compete on the global stage, so we have to sell players to bring in players, and that is just it's backwards thinking. But you're held over a barrel, and we know the frustrations. The owners have spoke about the frustrations. It's I think personally that they're just going to go for it next season if we get Champions League. I really put.
I'm going to show you the other graphic. I'll get this other graphic on the screen. I don't know if you can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
You can see. What do you make of this one?
The revenue for clubs in the Premier League in 23-24. Well, so this is it, right? So this was our. This is the year we qualified for the Champions League, right? 23-24, wasn't it? We finished 4th.
Yep.
So I think that's probably considering more now than that figure, right?
Yep.
But look at the gap, like of that. Right? It's huge, isn't it? From 272 for us to 719 Man City, Man United, Liverpool, like Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea. You know, we're close to Newcastle, but those big 6 hitters. This is. I'm not saying there's corruption within the Premier League, mate, but this is we're talking billions of pounds here that you go into there. Right? Yeah, and the powers that be want to protect that. It's like the 1% club. It's like you can't break into it because they've got a good thing that earns mega money for them. It's an attractive. It's what people tune in for. Obviously, being a Villa fan, I want to break that. I want us to be in that. You know, if I'm
break the mold.
Break the mold. We've got to do it, mate. And eventually, it will filter down. But how are teams like, you know, Bournemouth supposed to compete? For instance, you know,
no chance.
You've got no chance. And if you look at teams like Bournemouth and Brighton, who have had fantastic kind of recruitment and building squads and doing and competing like well in the Premier League for 2 or 3 seasons, but now they get to this point and they just get washed away because they can't keep their best players and they can't. It's not sustainable. And obviously, you want to be in the Premier League, and if they are, that's great. But anything beyond that, they're struggling, and we're in between that, like because now we're competing for European places year in year out under a fantastic management regime. Like we're trying to break into that top 6. And the only way we do that, the only way we can do that is to. I don't want to say if you can't beat them, you got to join them, right? So you start to do the things that they do. Like you know, Tottenham are an interesting one because they've done nothing on the pitch for 20 years, but they've not spent, which meant their now PSR and SCR things is next to nothing. They've got a world-class stadium that they've invested in. Their revenue is ridiculous, like you said, NFL games, all that kind of stuff. It all buys into it. So Tottenham next season will be a force to be reckoned with if they get the right manager because they can go and spend whatever they want. Literally, right? And you know, they've got that London pull. You know, it's very much that north-south divide where you go, right, we can have, you know, Manchester United, Liverpool, Man City, right? That's the north, and then you've got the London-based teams, Chelsea, Arsenal, you know, and Spurs. And
so, Gary, I'm going to a last question. Going towards the end of the podcast. So, we'll talk about the transfer window. Do Aston Villa need another defensive midfielder or a midfielder with Kamara's injury?
Oh, it's a good question. Okay, I'm going to say no. We gamble on Onana being fit. I think get Onana back, and if we're going to invest in a player, we need a striker or a right wing attacking player that's going to get some goals, mate. You know, because it depends on how long Kamara's going to be out for. You know, like every statement of it's going to be a long time. What does that mean? You know, I need some specifics, mate. I can't do that.
I think we need a Marco Asensio type player, I think. Some creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of type of player that you can bring on or utilise in the squad.
Any chance we can get that done before Thursday's game? Yeah, so he can play for us instead of against us. I'm hoping he doesn't come back and bite us in the backside, mate. It's just I've got a horrible feeling. You know, I'm a massive fan of Marco Asensio.
He plays Fenerbahçe. I forgot that. So
we've got, I think, there's been a big debate this morning whether John Duran was going to be allowed to play because he was sent off and it was suspended and but it had been rescinded and he already said. But I don't think he's playing. I don't think he's playing because that would have been horrendous for us. But Asensio, when he came last January for us, mate, I was so impressed. Like he was just a head and shoulders above everybody. A joy to watch. Probably one of the best players I've seen in the Villa shirt, if I'm honest. I know he went off the ball a little bit, but I think Unai said at the time, like he's not been fully fit, and we're trying to get him fully fit. And look, we very nearly got him in the summer, didn't we? And I think it was just down to probably wage demands that we didn't, and that's why he went to Fenerbahçe. Again, PSR biting us in the backside. I would take something like that.
We need some reinforcements.
Well, like in terms of reinforcements, I think we need 2 players this window. I think an attacking player, wherever that be, right side or up front, right? And like I do, I would have said potentially a right back as well because I worry about Matty Cash being overplayed and getting injured. Because if he does get injured, we are screwed, right? And and so. Maybe a right back as well. But now we've got this, like you say, we're one injury away from having a crisis in the centre of midfield. And so that's a really good question. I think as it stands now, if like I heard a rumour today that Onana should be back for the Brentford game on the 1st of February. If that's the case and he can keep him fit, then we don't need an extra midfielder. But we know what Onana's been like. He's played 3 or 4 games and then picks up another injury. It's such a shame because he's been so immense for us in the games that he's played this season. But he's spending more time on the physio table than he's on the pitch, and that's a problem. So I'm willing to risk it, I think, because we've only got...
I think we should.
We've only got a short period of, with the second half of the season now, we've got, there's also rumours that Barkley's going to potentially leave Sheffield United or after him, apparently. I don't know how true that is. But, Emery rates Barkley. We need these injured players to get back fit first. And like I say, if it's going to be a couple of weeks for Onana, then don't do it. But if they're going to be long-term, mate, then we might have to, because otherwise we're going to rely on Bogard and Hemmings to fill that void, and that's probably not going to be enough to get us over the line. So it's an interesting one.
What's your score prediction?
Score prediction for Thursday. Here we go, mate. I'm gonna go on what I hope for is we go and park the bus and a boring 0-0.
I'm gonna go for a 1-0 win.
A 1-0 win. Okay. So, Chad, this is how my brain works, right? So that's my head. That's my footballing head going, right, do the things, don't lose the game, get a point. Brilliant away from home. My heart says we win 2-0, that we turn up, right, that we go there full of confidence, we knowing that we've more or less qualified so we can play without any fear. We do that thing that I was suggesting and play Pau Torres in the holding midfield role. He has the game of his life. Tillerman scores us at a 40-yard screamer. Watkins gets another one. That's the dream. That's my heart prediction. But in my head, it goes 0-0.
Well, we're going towards the end of the podcast. And congratulations to Unai Emery getting December Manager of the Month.
Yes, thoroughly deserved, mate.
Fully deserved, yeah. Well, thank you, Gary. You've been a great guest.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Anytime. Happy to come on again. And if you want to come on ours, you're more than welcome, mate. We'll set that up in the next week or so. You're more than welcome.
I'd love to go on your show.
Yeah. Okay. I'll speak to James later today, mate, and we'll get some dates for you, and you can come on.
Can I give you a plug? So where can I find every week we find that?
Oh, across all socials, we're on obviously TikTok and YouTube as the Every Week We Follow podcast. It's every week EWWF_IBFC on TikTok, and it's the same for X as well. And we're on Instagram as EWWF at IBFC 1874 on Instagram.
Subscribe.
Yeah, please do. We're a growing family. Like, help us. We're just 2 passionate Villa fans that are loving talking about the Villa. If you want, it's not exactly Sky Sports punditry, but it is good fun. So come and join us on the journey.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please remember to make sure to subscribe. Make sure to smash the likes. And share it on all your socials. Give this podcast a share. And if you're listening via audio, make sure to leave us a good review.
Yes,
That
people,
always
listen to this
helps.
man. Do it. Hit all the follow buttons. Hit that subscribe
Let
button.
me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for your time, Gary.
Anytime, Chad. Thanks for having me on, mate.
I'm going to wrap up this episode with Villa forever as always, and up the Villa.